Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Justin Gaethje recently said in an interview that he would consider leaving and quitting the UFC if Conor McGregor were to receive a title shot after a win over Michael Chandler. I want to talk about some of the hypocrisies involved in that statement, and if you are new here, just know anything I say is just jokes, because I do say often that I don't like Justin Gaethje's personality, but I do seriously respect him as a fighter. So everything that I say, if you're offended by it, just know that it's a joke and whatever. And yeah. Also, I want to give a big shout out to the MMA Guru because he commented on one of my videos with some kind words, and I greatly appreciate it because he doesn't have to do that, man. The guy's got over 80,000 subscribers. He doesn't need to be going out of his way and commenting on a guy's channel that's got 200 subscribers or whatever it is. So I thought that was pretty nice of him, and it just gave me validation that I am doing something right at least. And also, there's one more thing that I do want to talk about briefly. I will timestamp this part so that if you want to skip past it, you can skip past it and just get right into Justin Gaethje, because it kind of is only relevant to the Canadians that would be in my audience. And I've said multiple times on this channel that I don't like getting political very often, and that reason is because I don't want to isolate one particular, an individual, because, there's like a lot of reasons that somebody could vote in a particular way. There are literally people out there that are, what they would call single issue voters, so they would vote for a particular party because they are really passionate about this one topic. But that being said, I kind of feel like I have to say this because this is very important and not good. So yesterday in the House of Commons, the Liberal Party of Canada, who, for those of you who are not aware, are a minority government right now, but they are in power, they have done a kind of shady backdoor coalition with another left-wing party called the NDP, which stands for New Democratic Party. Essentially, the New Democratic Party are just the Socialist Party with much better branding, but that's besides the point. So every single thing that the Liberal Party of Canada has wanted to pass through that is not good, and they didn't have the power to pass through, the NDP votes their way in exchange for like dental care or something like that. I don't know. It's honestly ridiculous, but in the House of Commons, they were debating a bill, which is Bill C-11, which is to do with online censorship. And that is what it is. If you are somebody who is, a fan of either one of those parties and you believe what they say, what this bill is, I would strongly urge you to go and read the bill for yourself. It is pretty obvious that that's exactly what it is. They would 100% be able to control what you see when you see it on the internet, and they shut down debate early so that they could just push it through in record time, by the way, which is just, more shady dealings on behalf of them. The good news is it's not done. Okay, it still has to go back to the Senate, and there are certain amendments that the Senate had asked the party to make to their bill that they said they didn't want to make, so I guess we're going to see what the Senate does over that. Like, they're going to fight about it, or if they're just going to allow it to pass through, and then it has to go back to the House of Commons once more. So it's not totally in implementation yet, but it is one step closer. It is a horrible bill, and I would say this, dude, like, whether or not you like the party that is in control, I find that a good rule of thumb for politics and what bills you would support, what laws you would support, things like that, is if the party that you consider your political opponent is in power, if you wouldn't like them to have this power, then you should not be okay with the party that you like passing it, because eventually there will come a time when the Liberal Party of Canada is no longer in power, and the party that you hate, the Conservative Party of Canada, will have that power. And I would also strongly urge any Canadian that just like casually follows politics to actually look into like stuff a little bit more, because oftentimes the words conservative and liberal like get very conflated with the United States of America's politics. And the Conservative Party of Canada is nothing like the Republican Party in the United States. So That's just a misconception that happens. People, you know, assume that it's all one and the same just because the name is what it is, but that's not what it is. And yeah, man, this bill's horrible. And if you are like somebody that's okay with it, I don't know what to say to you, really. It's horrible, and it shouldn't happen. You should never give that kind of authority to the government, because once they have it, they don't tend to give it back. And again, eventually there will be somebody in power that you do not like that has that power. So there is a petition that you can sign. The leader of the Conservative Party has that link, I would imagine, on his Instagram page or Twitter or whatever. You can go sign that. And for those of you who think that maybe like petitions aren't going to do much, I would tell you that they do, okay? Because there was a bill that they tried to pass pretty recently that would have banned almost every hunting rifle and shotgun in Canada, and ones that are exclusively used for hunting, okay, and ones that are often used by Native Americans who live in extremely rural areas. So he did a petition, organized a petition for that. I signed it. Obviously, my wife signed it. A bunch of people that I know signed it. It did end up working. He froze that bill. They went back on the list of what they wanted to be banned weapons and removed a ton of them off of that list, because they realized that there were so many people that were not okay with what they were doing. And for those of you who still think that the NDP is like a viable solution, because oftentimes, dude, people would vote NDP as more or less a protest vote, you know, because they're sick of what's going on in either of the bigger parties, the Liberals or the Conservatives. They are not your friend. Like, I can't stress this enough. They are one and the same, if not worse, than the Liberal Party of Canada. And if they were in power, our country would just very rapidly go to shit. So, you know, take that, whatever, with a grain of salt, if you will. Again, I'll timestamp it so that you guys can skip forward to Justin Gaethje. But anyways, okay, thank you. And sorry for getting political. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'll thank you in advance because I'm Canadian, eh? So don't be the kind of guy that doesn't do the thing that he's already been thanked for. Okay, now, Justin Gaethje was asked in an interview, you know, in regards to what he would feel, I guess, if Conor McGregor were to get a title shot over Michael Chandler. And his quote was, "Would I quit if Conor won and they gave him a title shot? Probably. That's how hurt I would be by the actions of the company that I represent. But that's out of my control. I just really hope that doesn't happen. We can imagine a lot of things, and there's a possibility that that's the scenario, which I would be devastated for sure." Okay. I'm going to read Conor McGregor's response before I give my opinion, just so that I don't forget to, because, you know, I'm also very critical of Conor McGregor from time to time. I think that he gets, you know, some undeserved opportunities, obviously, and I find it irritating how he's always in talks for a title, like no matter what weight class he's in, whether or not he's established there. And you know, he's not my cup of tea. And I'm, by the way, my lineage is quite Irish on my dad's side, so like I could be hyping that up, like, you know, Sean O'Malley, who he's got an Irish last name, but clearly American as fuck, okay, but gets like a goddamn four-leaf clover or whatever tattooed on him and is all about Conor McGregor. But either way, Conor McGregor responds to this with, on Twitter, "This brain-dead fool got a title shot off of one single win, and it was versus Chandler, yet he will quit if I get the same thing. Classic Gaethje bird brain." Bird brain, he threw some hashtags in there. 2 title attempt, no wins. So I agree with that statement very much so. And dude, I was trying to think, like, Justin Gaethje reminds me of something. And this is also going to be something that, if you're not Canadian, this might not, this might not resonate with you. I mean, these birds do migrate, though. So if you have had the misfortune of having these birds come and stay in your country for a while things warm up here, I am greatly sorry for you. Justin Gaethje reminds me of a Canadian goose, dude. I'll tell you what, okay? Because those geese are fucking, they've got so many extra chromosomes, it's fucking unbelievable, okay? My mom and my brother have a husky who is 95 pounds, which is not, that's unheard of for a husky. So he has to have like some wolf in there or some shit. Like, a big husky, 60 pounds, okay? This thing's a fucking monster. And he doesn't look like an Akita, and he doesn't look like a Malamute, so I think that he's a hybrid of a husky wolf. But That's besides the point. Big fucking dog, okay? And these fucking geese, dude, will chase him down like this, first of all, with their eyes, and they'll be fucking hissing, like, drooling and shit. That's the kind of fucking animals these things are. They're savages. I can't stand them. And I think I think Justin Gaethje's personality reminds me a lot of a Canadian goose. I think he's got chromosomes to spare, and he's just fucking hoarding them for whatever reason. And he's got also like fucking zero self-awareness. Because I'll say this, dude. When people talk about Dana White privilege, okay, that's definitely a thing, right? Like perhaps Colby Covington gets a little bit of that. Perhaps Michael Chandler, whatever. Like Tony Ferguson was the one that brought it up the first time. But there's something else that exists in pro MMA, and especially in the UFC. It's pretty noticeable because they're getting huge opportunities, and it's like dominance MMA privilege, okay? If your manager is Ali Abdelaziz, you get opportunities that others might not. He has a very good relationship with the UFC, even though he's a bald rat. I don't know why anybody would want to have a good relationship with him, but they do. And it's just about making money, I guess, you know what I mean? But he's cringe as fuck, and I can't stand him. Sorry. I don't know what the fuck that was. But guys that work, or, you know, are guys that he's managing, absolutely get fired. Justin Gaethje, by all accounts, gets Dana White privilege, and he's not even aware of it. So he's like hating on these guys, acting like he's the little guy, like the little blue collar guy who's hating on the fucking, you know what I mean, the big white collar CEO dude. Meanwhile, he's fucking wearing a white collar. He just washed it with his colors because he's a fucking Canadian goose, okay? And it drives me crazy a little bit because I want to talk about a few things as to why this is such a hypocritical statement coming from him, and why it's just like, shut the fuck up, dude. Because Gaethje has literally gotten the same amount of undeserving title shots that Conor McGregor has gotten. I would say that Justin Gaethje's first title shot, obviously he won the interim championship. I would say that even him getting that shot at the interim championship, and I understand that it was like a short notice replacement because Tony Ferguson was supposed to fight Khabib and they needed somebody to step in. So, you know, kind of like right place, right time kind of deal. But I would argue that his interim shot was like less deserving than Conor's even. Now, I wouldn't call it undeserving necessarily, but Conor McGregor got his first title shot, which ended up being an interim title shot because Jose Aldo had to pull out of their fight against Chad Mendes after he had won 5 straight in the UFC. And I believe only one of those was a decision, right, which came to Max Holloway, and it was because he tore his knee, I think, in the first round. Implemented grappling, which was good to see from a young guy that just made it to the UFC. Only his second fight in the UFC also, by the way, so there was lots of room for improvement after that. And then he got the interim championship, and then he went on, obviously, to fight Jose Aldo and starch him in 13 seconds. So by the time he had won the title, he was on a 7-fight win streak. There's definitely been guys who haven't gotten title shots with much larger win streaks, right? Like Beneil Dariush currently on an 8-fight win streak. If he beats Charles Oliveira, will be on a 9-fight win streak, and then maybe we'll get a title shot. Pardon me. And then speaking of Charles Oliveira, even him, he was on an 8-fight win streak before he got a title shot. Tony Ferguson was on a fucking 12-fight win streak, got stripped of the interim title because of an injury, okay, and then got another interim shot, and never once got an undisputed world title championship fight, even though he had won 12 in a row. Now, Justin Gaethje had won 3 in a row before he got his interim championship title opportunity, and one of those wins was fucking James Vick, dude. Huh? And one of them was Cowboy. And I know that Cowboy was going on a fucking tear at that time. And I think Gaethje was kind of the first, like, nail in his coffin, you know? But Gaethje only pounded it in halfway. And then, fuck, I can't remember, actually, if Tony Ferguson... No, Tony Ferguson was the first nail in his coffin. And then Justin Gaethje in that. Yeah, okay. Either way. One of those wins was Cowboy, and one of those wins was James Vick, right? And Edson Barboza is a good win, and at the time he was ranked 6th. So it's not like the Edson Barboza of today. Like, Edson Barboza was a fucking dude. Killer. I wouldn't ever want to be stuck in the cage with him fucking trying to switch kick your liver. But still, 3 fights and you get an interim title championship opportunity, which he, and credit to him, won in pretty dominant fashion against Tony Ferguson, and then went on to get submitted by Khabib and put to sleep. After that, he won 1 in a row, as Conor said, against Michael Chandler, which, by the way, on 2 of the judges' scorecards was simply a 29-28 decision, which I know that he, battered him pretty good, but it wasn't like he went out there and fucking, you know what I mean? It was a fun fight, but Charles Oliveira finished Michael Chandler in, like, just a little over a round. Dustin Poirier finished Michael Chandler. Justin Gaethje gets a 29-28 decision, and he gets a title opportunity against a guy who, by the way, Michael Chandler right now is 2-3 in the UFC. Or is he 2-3 or 2-4? Sorry, no, yeah, he's 2-3. At the time, he was 1-1. Like, huh, dude? Huh? What? And you get a undisputed title shot off of that, and then you get fucking choked again. You know what I mean? So, like, you've got to do something else besides beating a guy ranked, what, was Fiziev like number 12? And in fairness, I thought Fiziev was going to beat him. I kind of think that there's an argument that Fiziev did beat him, but, or a draw even. You've got to do more than that. You know what I mean? And I don't understand the lack of self-awareness. I do, because he's a Canadian goose, but, like, at the same time, dude, like, fucking figure it out. Like, there's nobody saying that about you. You know what I mean? Tony Ferguson's not fucking saying he's gonna quit because Justin Gaethje's getting a title shot off of 1 win over Michael Chandler or fucking some shit, dude. Like, he literally, it's annoying to me, man. It's annoying. Like, I don't like it. This is why I don't like Justin Gaethje. He never seems to have anything, like, positive to say. He's always complaining. And it's like, dude, your life's fucking great, okay? You make a ton of money. You're beloved by the vast majority of the fan base. You get to fight other grown men for a living, which to some of you might not seem like a glamorous job, and it's not glamorous in the traditional sense, but I would fucking love that job. You know, I think it would be fucking awesome. Imagine not having to, like, go to work every day and you just get to go train, and then you get to go fucking fight some guy in an arena and there's like 20,000 people going crazy for you. I mean, really, dude. And if we're comparing their records in the UFC also, and I know that everything's, like, relevant because where Michael Chandler is when Conor fights him, where he is compared to when Justin Gaethje, like, you know, it's all relative, but even their careers in the UFC, like, Justin Gaethje's 7-4, right, in the UFC. If he didn't have such an impressive record in the organization before he came to the UFC, he would have, like, a fucking, like, a female strawweight prospects record. You know what I mean? If we're just going off of his UFC record, and Conor McGregor is 10-4, you know, and those losses are to Khabib, and then, you know, one good knockout by Poirier, and then a very unfortunate leg break. And yes, that fight was absolutely trending in Dustin Poirier's direction, but, you know, it's still the slight asterisk there. Like, it was unfortunate. He fucking snapped his leg in half. You know, and then the other one was to Nate Diaz, which he was moving up. He was supposed to be fighting at 155. They needed a short replacement. Nate Diaz stepped in, and, you know, oftentimes the guy that ends up taking the fight on short notice gets a lot of the credit, but you also have to give credit to the guy who is okay with the new opponent, because he just trained for fucking Rafael dos Anjos for however long, right? Because he was trying to get the double champ status then, I believe. And now all of a sudden, he's fighting 15 pounds heavier than what he was supposed to be, which is probably fine. He doesn't have to cut weight. But he's also fighting a guy in Nate Diaz who's got a completely different style from RDA. You know, different skill set, different... Dude, even the speed, the timing, like... Nate Diaz throws like change-ups. You know what I mean? Compared to RDA. And Nate Diaz isn't necessarily a wrestle-heavy kind of guy, but he's got slick submissions and jiu-jitsu skills, whereas Conor McGregor was probably expecting RDA to wrestle. So there's a lot of things that, you know, like the fighter that is scheduled and has an opponent fall out oftentimes doesn't get the credit. The fighter that steps in does, but I feel like they should both. They're both taking this new fight on short notice, despite who's been training for what. So... yeah, man. These are my thoughts, I guess, on Justin Gaethje. He really does annoy me, man. I love watching him fight. I respect the shit out of him. He's a fucking warrior. But every time he opens his mouth, he doesn't ever have anything good to say. And it's like, fuck, man, you literally sound like you're miserable or something. I don't get it, dude. He's always bitching about something. A very negative mindset, in my opinion. And, Conor McGregor is about as deserving as you were for your last title opportunity, okay? And it's not his fault that you couldn't fucking get the job done. And I also keep seeing people in the comment section, like, saying that fucking Gaethje would destroy Conor. Dude, guys, I gotta fucking preface it again. I do not like Conor McGregor. I'm not a Conor McGregor fan. I think that Justin Gaethje is one of the better matchups for him at the lightweight division. Simply because, well, I mean, Michael Chandler is probably the best. But Justin Gaethje is not far behind. You know what I mean? Justin Gaethje has to get close to you in order to be effective with his striking. Conor McGregor does not. And I know that he does, you know, recently he's been doing a very boxing-heavy approach and shit like that, but he landed some slick counters on Dustin Poirier. And, you know, Dustin Poirier's got a hell of a fucking poker face, because there was that one, like very straight uppercut that he threw. It was kind of like an upwards jab, that patented upwards jab that Conor McGregor does, but you get way more leverage and torque behind it because you're starting from way down here and whatever. Anyways, it's not like a traditional uppercut. That's what I'm saying, like an upwards jab. He hurt Dustin, you know, and I think that Dustin Poirier is fucking way more defensively sound than Justin Gaethje is. I want that fight to happen next. And then, you know, if you win that one, Gaethje, then we can talk. Because, you know, Dustin Poirier is a fucking killer and only has lost to Oliveira and Khabib also. A lot of guys are in that fucking boat, eh? But, you know, it is what it is. Justin Gaethje's a little bit of a hypocrite. I don't understand why he does this, man. Just be happy. Stop bitching about shit. It is what it is. And, yeah, man. Enough, dude. Just be a nice guy. Be happy. Like, I'm sure he is a nice guy. I'm sure if you meet him in real life and he's a fan, he's fucking nice. But, again, dude, he's always bitching about something. And it's fucking annoying, dude. He's like Karen, you know. Which is funny. That's my aunt's name. But she's a Karen, too. So, anyways, that's the end of this video. Like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Again, I'm sorry for the fucking political rant at the beginning. I will timestamp it so it's out of the way. Thank you again to the MMA Guru for commenting on my video. I greatly appreciate it. And, yeah, I'll see you at the next video. Bye-bye.